who better than me?
Welcome back to another episode of The Hardcore Casual with your boy, Bass the Kid. As always, please like and subscribe, share the videos, share the content, friends, colleagues, family members, acquaintances, enemies, and anyone in between. I appreciate all the views, I appreciate the comments down in the section below. Interaction in general is all good. So without further ado, let's crack on to the next episode. Okay, so this topic's probably been done to death at the moment. So rather than do individual sections about it, I'm just going to do an amalgamation. So let's look at the Tyson Fury Dillian Whyte fight as things have unfolded this week. First things first, we had the press conference on Tuesday. Dillian Whyte didn't attend. A lot of people have said he should have attended. It was unprofessional for him not to do so. You know my stance on it. I was all for him not doing anything to promote the fight. He was screwed with the purse bid negotiations. He was screwed with the offers prior to purse bid. Thus far, it seems as if there's a bunch of other things that he's asked for or requested, which, because they weren't a part of the standard contract, is not being given to him. Now, I don't know if those things there are particularly true or whether I care about that, but ultimately, the press conference is to announce the fight, to build the hype, build the suspense, the anticipation, and build the exposure to the casual audience. Because the whole entire hardcore community, we all know about this fight. We're all gonna watch it one way or another. At this point in time, I'm deciding whether I want to actually spend money on this. I'm actually hoping us as a collective at the Undefeated podcast decide to do another watch along like the Amir Khan and Kell Brook saga, because I'll definitely go to that. I'll pay for that. In terms of paying for the Skies, the BT Sports box office, I'm undecided at this point. I need to see what the undercard's saying, and that's not because I don't want to see the fight. At this point, I'm not happy with the way in which Dillian has been treated by Frank Warren, Bob Arum, and the WBC. It doesn't even have much to do with Tyson Fury, although he longed off things a lot pre this announcement. But yeah, the whole minimum supposed to be 70-30, but he was petitioned to 80-20. The whole you're not mandatory anymore, but now trying to spin it as well, but we're the ones giving you your shot and your highest purse. All of which could have been avoided if they had just went to the table properly initially and offered a deal that, showed his marquee value within the UK, showed his commercial drawing power. Because let's be honest, like if you look at ticket sales and if you look at like pay-per-view sales in the UK, Dillian sells more than Tyson hand over fist. Like thus far, that is factual. I mean, it just is. So, and they talk about, he 250,000 pound purses and 300,000 pound purses and whatnot. Now, okay, even if we get to the real numbers, which is closer to like 4 million, Dillian Whyte's last two fights was in the height of a pandemic with no crowd, and he still made 4 million on both of those fights. Both of Tyson Fury's fights were in front of crowds in America with exorbitant ticket prices against fights that actually lost money at the gate. Well, the second Wilder fight did. The third one they made money, but that's because the overheads were a lot lower because they basically got their pants pulled down in the original. So when you look at all the metrics, yeah, it's easy to try and look at the numbers to justify it, but people who know the deal, innit? So, the narratives they're forming, it's all well and good, it's all fun and games, I suppose. And because Dillian ain't talking, those narratives are just allowed to run wild, especially with people that just want them to be true anyway. I mean, I ain't one of those people, but I can look at this objectively. But at the moment, I'm choosing to be subjective because I am more Dillian Whyte than Tyson Fury. Always have been, always will be. When it comes time to break down the fight and do the analysis, I will be objective because I will see what I take pride in what I say and how I believe fights are going to go. So there is no bias in my predictions or anything like that. But in this whole build up, oh yeah, there's a hella bias. Like, I'm supporting Dillian because I've seen the you know, the way he's been treated over the years by the WBC, and then, you know, being compounded by what Frank Warren and Bob Arum have done with the purse bid. Ultimately, look, imagine you go to work, right, and your job is supposed to pay you at a minimum £20 an hour. Just as an example, okay, you're supposed to get paid £20 an hour, but then your previous boss goes to your new boss and says, well, realistically, he should only be getting paid 12 because when he was over here, like, he was on 15. And he left without giving his notice or something foolish like that. So they go, okay, cool, we'll give him 12. Okay, so now you've got 12 and you should have had 20, but they want you to do the same level of work that you would have done for the 20 to now do for 12, to make them more money, and you don't get no part of it. Like, who in their right mind is going to do that? So yeah, a lot of people are looking at the whole $8 million thing. Okay, yeah, he's getting paid $7.4 million, but in relation to what it should be of the purse, nah. And if you would say, okay, he gets 7.4, but then Tyson gets, say Tyson then got 17 or 18. All right, you might say, okay, cool, because that's the size of the pot. I've got 7.4. That's my value in this fight, and your value is that. Tyson Fury's value is not 30 million for a mandatory that they claim they didn't want because no one knew who Dillian Whyte was. So how do you pay him $30 million for that mandatory? But yet Dillian gets 7.4. I mean, the math ain't mathing all over the place. Like, but it's all, like I said, it's all fun and games. After the arbitration, which as far as I'm aware is supposed to be finishing this month, like around about the middle. So we're looking between what, the 12th and the 17th maybe. So by that time, maybe Dillian start talking again, and it might start getting tasty. Who knows? He might decide to start throwing some shots and promoting the fight a little bit. Who knows? But whether he does or he doesn't, I particularly don't care. You know, same thing Lennox said. You know, we'll see what the real value of Tyson Fury is. And I saw Frank Warren in an interview. I guess I'll touch on this within the same segment with the tickets. So Frank said that the tickets sold out, 85,000, with 5,000 coach tickets still available to be purchased. And they did it in like 3 hours or something. It's like, oh, it's the biggest ever, the most successful ticket gate or whatever. Now, first of all, that's a lie. Because when Anthony Joshua fought Vladimir Klitschko, they sold out 80,000 tickets in 30 minutes. Then they released another 10,000 tickets, and those sold out in 55 minutes. So that is already half the time of your 85,000. So wherever you go in, that this is the fastest selling, the most successful selling venture ever. Then I saw the interview with Umar, where he's basically saying, oh well, Matchroom created the secondary market, so you know they sold their tickets to StubHub. Like, none of our tickets are through them, they're all through Ticketmaster. But guess what? Ticketmaster are also a reseller, the same as StubHub was, the same as AXS has a resale market as well. So when Matchroom sold tickets to StubHub was still charging at the standard price. I've bought tickets from StubHub as an official ticket seller. I didn't have to pay any extra on my ticket. You go to their secondary, their reseller market, yeah, maybe it's a whole different story. But Ticketmaster have the exact same thing. So you're there trying to finagle and you know, ruffle through the public like people don't actually know what's going on. Like, you're not that slick, Frank. Like, you don't know technology the same way most of us know technology. Like, leave, you know, stick to the lies on paper and stuff that you can hide and throw. Like, we can find all this information. It's not hard to dig up at all. Then he said something along the lines, oh, well, you know, I'm not happy about the touts and the bots, because we all saw that there was at least about, what, 40,000 bots in that queue. Because I went in the queue twice just for fun. The first time I went in the queue, I actually got through almost instantaneously. All of the top seats was all gone instantly, and there's only like the VIP ones. I came out, went back in a little bit later, took about 25 minutes to go through, and then all of a sudden everything was gone except a couple of like special ringside seats. I can't remember which ones they were. I was like, oh, okay. I said, okay, maybe North Bank, maybe Brendan was right. Maybe the thing was gonna sell. But then I remembered, no, there's a bunch of bots in there. So Frank said, oh, well, if there, you know, I don't want you to buy from a tout. I'd rather the seat be empty. So is he preempting that the seats are going to be empty and that's going to be his excuse? Oh, well, you see, I told him don't buy from those ticket touts, and now look, we got half an arena. So, you know, I did right by the fans, because the fans didn't have to pay those exorbitant prices. Yet you put half of those prices on there exorbitantly, like, oh, well, you know, we've upped the prices to pay for the cost of the purse bid. But you made that purse bid, so that's supposed to be on your head to make sure that you can make that money back correctly. Like, you've put a mad premium on these prices before Ticketmaster's resellers even got a hold of them. So I still maintain, when that day comes, unless they end up comping half of the arena, I reckon they're gonna take everyone from the nosebleeds and put them down like around the stands and maybe just tarp off the top bit. Because I still can't see it selling out the whole 90,000. Now, if I'm wrong, I will quite happily come on a video straight after I got it wrong. Tyson Fury is an attraction, more so than I thought he was. What little part Dillian played at that point, I don't know, but I'll agree. Okay, cool. But then we'll look to the pay-per-view buys that they're claiming is going to be 1.2, 1.4, maybe 2 million. Like, okay, so that's what I now need to check, because we can manipulate a stadium. Cool. Let's see how we manipulate the pay-per-view buys afterwards. So I'll definitely say I got it right, I got it wrong there. If the pay-per-views come in the same way, boy, same video. Or maybe the next week, because they might take a little while for those numbers to come out. I'll quite happily say, all right, you know what? I got it wrong. My bad. You know, I doubted. I won't doubt again. Frank, you were telling the truth. Bob, you were telling the truth. Fury, for once, you were telling the truth. Okay, cool. I'll own that. You guys got me. Congrats. But I don't think I'm gonna have to make that video. Anyway, that's my thoughts on the situation. I mean, it still amazes me how so much of this stuff still becomes about Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, and on the Matchroom side, Eddie Hearn talking about, like, I still think, to be real, all these men need to just like mind their own business at this point, because they're either excelling or failing at different things. Like, highlighting someone else's failures don't make you more successful. And, you know, you might even say the reverse as well. So ultimately, all the man them, just do what you're doing, forget what other people are doing, focus on your own business, focus on your own numbers, and, you know, let's go, because there's a lot of good stuff coming up over the next couple of weeks. Matter of fact, right now, I'm going to go into the next one. So the announcement press conference between Canelo Alvarez and Dmitry Bivol was yesterday, prior to Eddie being in San Diego for the Chocolatito versus Martinez fight. which is going to be a cracker. I'll be talking about that probably tomorrow, give my predictions and everything. Yeah, press conference was pretty uneventful, to be honest. Eddie Reynoso spoke. He got his Ring Magazine Trainer of the Year award. Canelo spoke, you know, good English as normal these days. So he's happy for the opportunity. Obviously wants to go back up, win another belt. Dmitry Bivol's happy for finally being able to get this chance, which he has asked for a little while. Not just necessarily Canelo, but a big fight. So he's going to display his skills to the world. And I actually think it's a very, very good fight. And you might be a little surprised at how my prediction goes nearer the time. But it's a short one. There wasn't really much else to announce on that, but yeah, it was a good little opening, so we guarantee that fight does happen. The WBA title will be on the line. The WBA have already stipulated that because Bivol is already a champion, like he won't be sort of, you know, decommissioned from their rankings. He'll remain a champion. It's only contenders who will end up getting, you know, removed and whatnot. So yeah, looking forward to that one. So it should be good. So I guess since I mentioned the WBA in the previous segment, I should address the fact that the rest of the sanctioning bodies are now not sanctioning any fights that are based in Russia, and also not allowing any Russian or I think it's Belarusian fighters to fight for their championships or be sanctioned to fight in any bouts, including them. Now, look, without getting into like a big spiral of all types of emotion and spiel regarding this situation, I don't agree with it. Look, Russia as a country is one thing, but these are individual athletes who are not, they're not on the front line, firing the guns and then going into the ring afterwards. Like they've pretty much got nothing to do with it. A lot of them aren't even in Russia at this point. I think it's a bit unfair of a sanctioning body to alienate the few based on the actions of many. Or if you want to flip it the other way, you could say the exact same thing, like you're alienating everyone based on the actions of a few people. Half of the soldiers, from what I hear, ain't really involved in the war. They don't really want it, but they're just doing their job. These men here are doing their job. They're not a part of the military. They're not a part of the regime like that. So taking away their livelihoods and stopping them from making money is, to me, it's almost like racial profiling. And that's not something that we need any more of in the world, if I'm gonna be real. I mean, it's mainly worse for someone like Artur Beterbiev, who, he's a unify champion at light heavyweight. He's supposed to be having a unification match with Joe Smith Jr. in like June, July time. That looks like it's being postponed now because he doesn't get to fight for his title because as of right now, he's not acknowledged as a champion by the other sanctioning bodies except the WBA, which is, yeah, I mean, it's not cool. He could maybe be, I think he's got dual citizenship with Canada at the moment, so maybe he can be under a Canadian banner. I don't know, but like, yeah, it's not a great scene. And obviously not allowing the Russian flag to be sort of waved at title fights and the Russian anthem to be sang. I mean, look, I'm not no Russia apologist. I don't really, I know some bits about the war which I ain't really gonna talk about on here because it's not time, but I'm saying, like, the country's one thing, but these fighters ain't got nothing to do with that, and taking away their livelihoods doesn't make what is happening elsewhere any less of a reality. So I hope they fix up and just, forget those sanctions and worry about if people are cheating in the sport, because that's the thing we need to eradicate. Doing the whole political thing, like, that's, that one ain't cool, and I don't really sit I don't sit on the side of that one at all. So yeah, let's hope that all gets cleared up swiftly. Keep it moving. So I think Eddie Hearn done an interview the other day on one of the MMA channels over in the US. It was I think it was yesterday he done it. He said that there's a possibility now Anthony Joshua could be having an interim fight if the Usyk thing can't get sorted out. Obviously Usyk's been over in Ukraine. He did an interview the other day where he basically said, right now I'm fighting for my country. Like, boxing is the last thing on my mind. There's more important things in the world. And I totally agree. But the titles ain't going anywhere for the time being. But the question is, like, what do you do? Is he eventually going to be made a champion in recess, or like champion emeritus, and then other people get given interim versions of the title, or they get the full titles, and when he comes back he gets to challenge every single one of the new challengers, like for each of the belts? Or when he comes back, he comes back as the champion, and each of them then have a claim to fight him for, you know, the right to be champ, or they go back down to interim status and have to wait their turn as a dedicated mandatory, you know, barring the contract. I'm not sure, but I wanted to talk more about the whole AJ potentially having interim fights. Now, I was in the group chat with one of my boys, Starter, earlier on, and Pugilist Boy. And what we basically were saying, and I said, first of all, that Joshua if he's going to have an interim fight, he needs to have more than one. He needs to have a couple fights. This is especially, and also Starter said the same thing. He's like, man needs 2 fights within sort of the next 6 months. So forget these long 12 to 18 week training camps that he likes to do, fighting twice a year. No, he needs to fight twice in the next 6 months. It don't have to be no super duper names, just some people that he can work on his new game plan with. So the question came up, well, kind of who should really man be fighting? Now, me personally, I said, outside of anything, he's got to be prepared to just take short money, £3-4 million and done. Like, I know you're used to the big 20, 25, 30 million pound purses or whatever, but right now it's not about that. You're not a champion, you don't have those big obligations. This is just about getting out, getting that rust off, learning your new trade, implementing your styles. So if it was me personally, I would say 2 fights. You fight Otto Wallin, and then you fight Luis Ortiz or Ivan Daichko or someone like that. You need to fight southpaws. And all of this is to prepare you for Usyk, prepare you for the way he's going to move during the ring, prepare you for the angles, prepare you for some of the speed and just some of the technical boxing skills. Now, yeah, neither of those 3 opponents have any type of skill sets like Usyk in terms of the movement, punch placement, and the way he fences and plays the mental gymnastics with you while in the ring and tiring you out. But they're all southpaws. They're all going to give you looks similar to what he's going to bring. And that's kind of what I think AJ needs. So personally, in my opinion, those are the kind of fights. I'd say try go for Otto Wallin, and then try go for Luis Ortiz or like a Ivan Daichko or someone else sort of along those lines on the southpaw spectrum, and just work on your game plan that way. Don't be looking too much for the straight knockout. Like, implement your style, so then when it comes to the next fight, you've got it down pat, so that knockout can come in the 2nd or the 3rd or the 4th round if it needs to come that early. Don't be too eager to close the show beforehand. Work on what you need to work on while making sure the other person don't get froggy. It's my opinion on it. But look, for right now, I'm gonna leave this one here. Got a couple more videos that will be coming out over the weekend, and the women's video that I've been talking about is gonna come out on Tuesday next week. So what day is that? That's Tuesday is it the 9th? Yeah, it's the 8th. Tuesday the 8th. That the women's video will be coming out 100%. But I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, guys, as I said before, thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe. You know, if you want to hear sort of more of the long form content like you saw right at the beginning, let me know. If you want these little quick short segments, let me know. or if you like the hybrid style, let's see if I keep that up as well. For now, hardcore casual out.